The new system, yeah.
Calling to order the Municipality of Monroeville's Citizens Night and Agenda Setting Meeting for December 6th, 2022. It is approximately 7:08 p.m. If we'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Have a roll call, please.
Mayor Griesau?
Here.
Mr. Hizzy?
Here.
Mr. Poach?
Here?
Mr. Stevenson? Mr. Wolfram?
Here.
Mr. Adams?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Biondo?
Here.
Mr. Little?
Here.
Mr. Ratcher?
Here.
Ms. Rock?
Here.
Mr. Hugus?
Here.
Mr. Sedlak?
Here.
Mr. Weldon?
Here.
Welcome. This is our Citizens Night and Agenda Setting Meeting. Now would be the time I'll open the floor for any resident who would like to address council on any municipal item. We always ask that you keep your comments to a 5-minute time frame. This is a comment period for any municipal item. At next week's regular council meeting, next Tuesday, we will have another comment section for agenda items only, but we would also have another comment period at the end of that meeting for any municipal item. But this one we're going to open the floor for right now is for any municipal item. If there's anyone here that would like to address council, now would be your time. And sir, if you could just sign in if you haven't already.
I have.
And then if you could just state your, if you could just state it just for the microphone, if you could just stand, that'd be great. And if you just state your name for the record and that you are a Monroeville resident.
My name is Dale Caprera. I am a Monroeville resident living over on Urick Lane.
Welcome, Dale.
Thank you.
Hi, Dale.
Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Good, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Gressick, and members of council for the opportunity to address you about a situation that's occurred to me twice over the past 6 months, and that is the municipality removing trees from my property without notification. In late May or early June, a tree fell across Urick Lane, blocking traffic. Public Works came quickly, removed the tree, and put it in my side yard temporarily just to facilitate the flow of traffic. Like a day or so later, they came, cleaned up the tree, and it was magnificent. The only evidence that was there that the tree had fallen was the sawdust from the trunk that they had cut. They had cleaned everything else up beautifully. On June 5th, my family and I went on vacation. We came back on June 10th and found that in the corner of my property, Public Works had again come to my property and cut down 4 or 5, maybe even 6 low-hanging trees, and we could not understand why they did it. And the reason why we were so upset, aside from the fact that it was done without notification, was that they did take out one tree that had a lot of foliage on it that blocked the view of the 12-foot trunk that still remained from the tree that fell the week before. Creating, in my opinion, an eyesore for not only ourselves, even though we couldn't see it from our home, but our neighbors right across the street saw them and wanted to know. We were upset when we saw this, but we took the attitude of, you can't fight City Hall, this is what happens, so be it. And the fact that it was tucked around the corner, and in the overall scheme of life, this is not a real big deal. However, fast forward now to November 28th. I left my home for a doctor's appointment at 6:30, and at 8:30 I get a text from my wife with pictures with Public Works people again cutting trees on my property. She goes out to see and basically stops them from cutting any more trees down, at which point, after she confronts them, they leave. When I came home, I found 19 tree trunks, 12 to 18 inches on my property, ranging anywhere from about 2 inches in diameter to probably 5 or 6. I spoke with John Roney, a Public Works employee, about this. He suggested we meet at my home to discuss the matter. He and a supervisor, I believe his name was Jamie, I did not get his last name, I apologize for that, spent about 15 minutes discussing the matter. I asked why the trees were cut, who ordered them cut, and who decided which to cut. I was given a copy of a form letter, which you probably all are well aware of, that details how the Public Works, how they decide what should be done in the way of trees and foliage. And some of the things you're talking about here are trees adjacent to the roadway, to keep trucks from hitting them, to keep physical and sight distance obstructions away, so on and so forth. All good things. I understand all of that. But what I didn't understand is that these trees were 10 to 12 feet from the roadway. And if you were to go and look at my property, you will see that I have cleared out approximately 50 feet of underbrush and garbage from my property to try to make it look as attractive as I can. If you take a look at the property right next door, going up the hill toward B Lane, I'm not sure who the owner is on the corner, but it's his responsibility, it's his property. It has been left basically as an abandoned property. We have weeds growing into the roadway. You have trees there growing over the roadway. That 50-foot section, not touched. My 50-foot section, 19 trees are taken out, okay? We were absolutely shocked. We were upset, and I took a couple of days before I actually sat down and penned this to allow myself to calm down. What I'm advocating for here is a process to be put in place that requires that a conversation be had with property owners, not an email, not a letter stuffed in a door. By the way, this wasn't put in my door. This was delivered to me by John Roney and Jamie the morning that we met. We did not get notification whatsoever. I'm advocating not for punitive measures. I'm not advocating for money. I am advocating for other property owners to have a say in what happens on their property. I think if you talk to people reasonably and ask them and tell them what you'd like to do and why, most people are reasonable. They'll work with you. I'll work with you. But when I come out and I look and I see some of the trees that were taken down were 8 to 10 feet tall, and they are dwarfed by 30-foot trees behind them, I wonder why they were cut. One last point. The sun sets in the west. That's across the street from my property. In order to remove the shade from that section of Uric Lane, you would have to clear cut the entire opposite side of the road, which I'm not advocating for. But that's what you would have to do in order to clear cut and get the shade removed from that piece of land. So I'm here to bring this to your attention and basically ask a question. How can this process be changed to allow input from property owners as to what's being done to their property? I don't know if I get an answer tonight, or if this is just a rhetorical that I'm sending out,
Well, Dale,
or
this
what do
is,
we do?
this is a comment period, and certainly too, this is the first time that any, well, at least I'm hearing of it, or anyone on council is. So I think it needs to be investigated, and I would, encourage Mr. Little, if you could maybe get Dale's contact number, so we can look into it more, so he can look into it more.
I'll be
Because
happy
we
to.
don't know all the circumstances around it, if the trees, yes, you're telling us where the trees were.
Right.
We don't know where they really
Of
were.
course.
What property, if they're in the right of way, if they were a danger, if the problem was. So maybe if we can at least get some answers for you. But to your point, we definitely need to look into, are there processes that we have in place that we need to improve upon as far as notification, which is a very good point for you to bring up. And I don't know what happened in your case specifically and where this went wrong.
Well, my first fear, Dale, is like that I missed an email, but I don't have one from you, because if I did, I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
you didn't.
Okay.
I thought about it, Eric, but I'm absolutely way late at work right now.
Oh,
It
okay.
just got
Well,
away
I'm-
from
I'm
me.
sorry.
It was enough for me to make
this-
sure I got my.
No, no,
Yeah,
no,
you
no,
got,
no.
you actually, you came to the right spot and you
Right,
let
that's
us
fine.
know, and we appreciate that, but we need to kind of look into it a little bit more. Mr. Little needs to look into it more.
Sure.
Maybe to give you some more satisfaction and try to figure out how we can do this better.
I will work with whoever I need to work with to try to get this moving
absolutely.
forward. And by the way, Public Works came 2 days later and took out all 19 stumps. So I applaud Public Works in some ways, and in other ways, I want to smack their wrists. But at the same time, they do good work. I get that. But I think in this case, they overstepped their bounds a little bit, in my opinion. And Mr. Lura, I'll work with you, whatever you need.
Yeah, shoot me an email what your phone number is, so I have your phone number.
Will do.
Or is your phone number on that list in front of
The
you?
phone number is on the list, but I'll shoot you an email anyway, so you have that as well. And your email address is on the website?
It's on a website, yeah.
And
Very
you
good.
can, and please copy me too, Dale.
Will do, Eric. Thank you. Thank you all for your attention.
Sorry to hear about this. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
I'll leave the floor open.
Getting Christmas presents.
Good evening,
Good evening.
No, he's not very far.
Georgiana Woodhull. Mayor, I'm hoping, if I put my cell phone down with a picture, would they be able to capture it on
We can
here?
try. I don't know if it will, but we can try.
Jared, get your
Alright.
magnifying glass out.
And you have signed in, I'm assuming?
Right.
Might help.
I'm here this evening because I'd like to, I'm hoping the council might be able to help me solve a mystery here. Trying to find out who the coward is that trespassed on my property, hung this black crow on, I'm not sure what it means. Have any of you seen this?
No.
Okay, well, there's an issue with trespassing on my property, and crime is up in our neighborhood, I can assure you of that. Obviously, my neighbor received one of these, but mine was put there, I believe, somewhere between midnight and 6 in the morning.
I'm sorry, your neighbor received the exact same thing?
He received one with a short cord, but he was sitting on his porch, and a man approached him and asked him to buy it for $10. Would he buy this crow? He makes them. Would he buy it for $10? My neighbor said, no, I'm not interested. You know, if you just take it and leave, I'm not paying you $10. So he just assumed that he left. When his wife came home, she found the crow hanging near the mailbox and questioned her husband about it. And he said, look, I told him I didn't want it, and he just left it there. So we have an issue with somebody soliciting in our neighborhood. As I said, my concern is because we've had several incidents over the last 8 months of trespassing. My husband and I were away for a few days. We come home, there's property damage. Obviously, somebody knocked the gutter off, cigarette butts on the side of my door, around the back door, below where the basement door is, and nobody in my family smokes. No cigarette butts on the front porch. We've had issues with, and I've called the police several times with, that we haven't had in the past, and that's with panhandlers. For years, for 30 years, I grew up here in Monroeville. We had one panhandler at the intersection of William Penn Highway and
48, right?
48.
Yeah, right.
And I noticed last week that the same man is still now going towards Wilkins by the light by Gabriel's. It's a problem. I've had to call the police about panhandlers on my vacant lot, walking out into traffic.
I didn't quite catch them.
Walking out into the traffic and placing items on my property while they're walking out. I did approach, there was a woman with two younger people with her, maybe about 14, maybe another one 16. One working in front of, towards on my property, and the other one on, and she was on Forbes Road. And when I approached the son, I guess it was his son, he had a sign in English, but he's telling me no English, so he didn't speak English. When I was telling him that he was on private property, he needed to leave. And, but when I mentioned the police, that seems to be a word he understood, because he then walked over to the woman, and then the three individuals got into a vehicle. I had already called the police shortly after that, got into a car and left Haymaker Village, got into a van. And as I said, crime is up in our neighborhood. There have been other incidences, and I can honestly say that the Widewater Group, they have been good neighbors. They have posted every possible sign. They have signs up for no rollerblading, no skateboarding, no solicitation, no truck or trailer parking, and that sign has on it strictly enforced by Monroeville Police. No truck overnight parking. And, I just want to, as I said, they've been good neighbors. But then it becomes an enforcement problem. And I want to thank you for hiring these, 5 police officers and swearing them in. But I can tell you that I grew up here in Monroeville. I grew up at a time when there was less crime, and about, maybe the police chief, he doesn't have a problem correcting me, maybe there were 55 police officers at the time, and now we have more crime and less police officers, even though you've hired those 5. And as I said, I don't know if you've been to any of the cities where they have defunded the police, or where the police have just got frustrated because of the disrespect and have quit or retired. If anybody traveled to any of those cities?
Oh, yeah, I was just in one,
Where were you?
California.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that in August, prior to election, I said to my husband, we're watching the news. Is it really that bad out there? Is it what they say it is at the border? And, I said, we're coming up on an election. So I have a friend in Arizona. Let's pack up and go and see for ourselves. And I can tell you, when you go to, it was a shock to me to travel there and to go south into certain areas and to see what's happening there. And in the entire time that we were there, I saw one sheriff in a 4-day period. And it's pretty bad when you go on vacation, and I hate to see this happening, but I do see it happening here in the city of Pittsburgh, where, people are afraid to go. You can't go to the south side. You can't go to, downtown. And it doesn't matter if it's day or night anymore. So, there's something to be said about the police. And honestly, I'm like everybody else on a budget. But that's one thing that I don't mind paying for, is the support for the police. I don't
No, I
mind
agree with
giving-
you, and I think council does as well, and we don't advocate for, any kind of defunding or
Well, where
reducing
are
the
we
police.
going with additional police? Because as I said, I see the changes in my own neighborhood. And even at night. I mean, there's, I'm up late and I'm a light sleeper, and I see things, across the street. There shouldn't be people walking around there. There shouldn't be somebody laying on a sidewalk. None of that should be occurring there.
Georgiana, do you have, I'm sitting here I'm listening to you to do that, and I'm just stunned because I've never seen this. I'm trying to come up with what the heck it means.
Yes.
Yeah, are you getting a
I
sense
don't
of
know.
it?
I can tell you that
We're all looking it
We're looking, I'm looking at, all kinds of
Okay, well,
craziness
I'm not,
out
I'm not
there.
intimidated by it, I'm not at all. And I just want to remind council, and this is another reason for me being here tonight, is all you voted for the day, what is it, the daycare, what is that?
Mm-hmm. Not all of them were
Dreamers
here.
and Achievers?
Across the shopping center.
Yeah.
Not everybody on here
And
did
the
it.
sign is
I
up,
did that.
and I don't know when they're moving in, but most people, if not everyone, voted to put that daycare in. And I never thought it was a good place for that type of a facility, but it's there. And so I think you have an obligation to protect these children when they get there, all 90 of them, is it 90 that are coming in?
I don't think she anticipates that many, but that's how many she could.
Even if it's 9, okay, there's a responsibility to protect these children there. And I came up here and I asked for 4 simple changes for safety reasons that would not be costly. That was reducing the speed limit from 25 miles an hour, from 40. Going through Pitcairn, it's 25. And when you get to past Caputo's, it's 40. And then it goes to 25 on the Trafford Bridge. It makes no sense.
Yeah, we can't control
We
that.
can't control it.
I understand that, but you're in a position that you could do something about it. I went to Mr. Markosik's office. I was in touch. Mr. Hizzy and I discussed that. That should be a simple, easy fix. That, getting a weight limit on Haymaker Road to control the, heavy trucks that are coming down Haymaker. Because there was a box truck that went up onto the sidewalk. There was a tanker truck that ended up almost in the parking lot of S&T Bank. And a lot of property damage. And I don't see a playground in there yet for kids. And if they're not going to have a playground, they might be walking kids around there. You have to make that safe.
Right. So if you could just summarize your comments here,
Okay, all right,
Georgiana, and
Mayor.
wrap it up for me.
The thing is, again, getting back to the police, people right now, honestly, and I've talked to a lot of people in the last couple of months, they're not afraid of getting COVID. They're not afraid. They're more afraid of getting mugged. They're more afraid of going out at night and not having a police presence around. So, you know, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for additional police officers to be hired here. You know, if you go to one of these cities and you see what's going on, you know, when you go on vacation, you want to be able to go to the sites. You don't want to have somebody tell you in the afternoon, I'm sorry, you can't take a walking tour of Tucson because of whatever occurred, or you can't go here, you can't go there. So I would ask you to hire more police. I mean, you can't go wrong. And, you know, if nobody here has gotten these or haven't gotten any calls, this was placed in an area up at the end of my property, right, as I said, on the no trespassing sign after midnight, I believe. And I'm going to actually leave this with the police department, and if any of the coward,
right outside.
if the coward is listening or wherever, they can retrieve their item. They're not getting the $10 at the police department.
Georgette, how many were there? Just two?
Yeah, Vince is the one that he wanted Vince to buy for $10, and then this one was so high up in the tree that I don't know how they got it up there. And, you know, it was a longer cord, but my husband had to cut it. I said, just cut it, you know, I don't know what.
Well, after I found out about that, I was working down in Braddock, and there was actually one in a tree that right before Fetterman's house, right after the mill. The same thing.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, any idea what it means? It's crazy.
I thought it was some local homeless person or someone local that did that, but
Well, even if it
There
is,
is-
like I said, in order to put it where they put it, like, why not hang it on my front door? Why not hang it somewhere there? Why
yeah,
hang
there,
it
there
there?
was one hanging in a tree there, right there, as soon as you get past Edgar Thompson on the right.
Okay.
Georgina, I'm just, for me personally,
guess.
I'm
You want
sorry.
this,
No, no,
Eric?
no, I don't. I'm sorry. You know, I mean, you're an active individual. There's no question about it. You're here, you're always concerned about the community. You know, you're a long time in Monroe. That's just the craziest thing I've seen in a long time.
Well, what the problem
I'm
is.
sorry, I
it's
just
like-
want you to know that I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You know,
if
you shouldn't be
somebody comes, if
objecting to
somebody
that.
comes, you know, and it, like I said, to put it right on the no trespassing sign.
Yeah, right.
You know, and it wasn't, like I said, I believe it was between the hours of midnight and whatever, because, you know.
They obviously
But
don't
I'm
know
not,
that
you know
you
what,
kicked
I'm
the
not
butt.
changing what I do in any manner
Right.
regardless. And, anyway, so the mystery still remains then, not
We should
solved.
probably
I'm
put
gonna
that
turn.
up for bid.
The police
give the
chief
money to
right
charity.
outside.
Oh,
You'll
well, you
take
know
it.
what, I'm sure he's probably gonna, you
He'll
know,
take
I've already
it.
had a couple conversations, he's tired of hearing
What's
from
written on
me.
the bottom of it?
Rich, I don't know.
Some guy's
something.
name?
There's a number on here,
Call
but
him.
it's just, I don't know.
Tell Doug to call.
Yeah, tell Doug.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for letting us know.
Somewhere, I can't remember.
So I will leave the floor open for anyone else who'd like to address council on any municipal item.
For you guys, this is the next craziest thing. This stuff never.
Seeing none, we're going to close the comment period and move over to our agenda-setting meeting. I have an executive session announcement that council conducted an executive session before this evening's Citizens Night on Tuesday, December 6, 2022, from 6:15 to approximately 7 p.m. For personnel and litigation reasons, council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at the Tuesday, December 13th council meeting. Council, the minutes that we will consider for December 13th are October 27th, 2022, November 3rd, 2022, November 1st, 2022, November 1st, 2022, and November 9th, 2022. That is the budget meetings, Citizens Night, council agenda setting meeting, and the regular council meeting. Any comments, questions, corrections on those minutes? Seeing none, you have the reports of the tax collections. Any questions or comments on those this evening? List of bills and budget transfers. Any questions or comments on those?
I do have a couple for Tim, but I'll see him before Tuesday.
Okay, very good.
I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it.
All right, Mr. Adams. Anything else for bills, list of bills and budget transfers? And once again, this is not a voting meeting. We are just going over this information. Council will consider all these items at the Tuesday, December 13th meeting. Payroll report. Questions or comments?
None.
Hearing none. Moving down to our consent agenda, we have old business 22-6-SUB, Sandy Hill Development LLC, Maple Crest Phase 3. Mr. Little.
Yes, the applicant is requesting preliminary and final subdivision approval to subdivide tax parcel 741K320 into 40 single-family residential lots and 3 parcels used for open space and stormwater detention for third phase of the Maple Crest development with a total acreage of 33.03 acres. The property is located at 3892 Logan's Ferry Road in the R2 one-family residential zoning district. Planning Commission has recommended approval, and this was tabled at last month's council meeting. And the next one also is a conditional use. If you want me to read that, Mayor, I could read that
Yes,
and put it all
please.
together. The second item is the same Sandy Hill development. It is a conditional use which requires a public hearing. The reason I brought it up, approval pursuant to section 401.8 of the Monroeville zoning ordinance number 1443 as amended to cut and fill operation totaling 100,000 cubic yards. The property is located at 3892 Logan's Ferry Road, tax parcel 741K320 in the R2 one-family residential zoning district. The Planning Commission has recommended approval, and also council tabled this last week because we didn't have any representation from the applicant. So, this would be a public hearing. Anybody that would give testimony would have to be sworn in.
So is the applicant here or the representative of the applicant?
Yes.
Very good. If you could come forward. And also, too, if there's anyone in the audience that might add testimony, I would ask for you to be sworn in as well. As we get talking, if you don't get sworn in, and as we're speaking, you change your mind, you'll have another opportunity if you have questions. If you want to add testimony, you be sworn in then. But at this point, if there's anyone that is going to be adding any testimony that they know for sure they are, please stand up. Sina, so, sir, if you just state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, John Spagnola with Sandy Hill Development.
Hi, John. And if I could swear you in, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. So this public hearing is open. Now, this is just we will kind of speak to the whole project to some degree, however, but the public hearing item is specifically for the cut and fill operation. That's what triggers this public hearing item. Mr. Ratcher, so the fact that it's tabled, that's only for the voting consideration?
Correct.
So council does not need to take any kind of action to have the public
No,
hearing?
you can have the public hearing without taking any action.
Okay, so it's currently tabled, because we're not voting on it anyway, so
Right,
it's currently tabled,
exactly.
that has no,
So it'll come off the table presumably on
Tuesday.
next Tuesday.
Correct.
And then you'll vote on it.
Very good. So John, if you want to just discuss the project, and
Sure.
we'll get it rolling that way.
Do you
and
want
if
me
there's
to put
anything
this up on the thing for your?
Yeah, that
for your
piece of
camera?
tape there, if you just kind of center it on there, and then we'll get a camera on it.
Yeah, so this is, can you see it? Am I good?
Okay, and if you could just maybe orient us briefly, maybe like with the roadways that are nearby.
Yeah, so this is coming off of Logan's Ferry Road in Monroeville. We have phases 1 and 2 built already. Maple Crest Lane was the original road by the golf course.
And where's Logan's Ferry on the, if you could just show us on the picture, if you see it there, if you don't mind. Okay, very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Yeah, so this is our third phase of the Maple Crest subdivision. You know, we're asking for the conditional use, obviously, because it's a larger cut and fill operation. Ryan Holmes is our builder in the project. The reason for the transfer, the change from, you know, the original design to the design that we presented a couple months ago was to keep the same product line that's selling in the neighborhood instead of changing products to a different kind of house.
So is the third phase going to be different homes?
No, it's gonna be the
Originally?
exact same as the homes that are in.
Or was it originally going to be different homes?
It was originally gonna be different homes, yeah, and because the way the topo worked, so we hired an engineer to redesign it to make the same houses that are in phases 1 and 2 work in phase 3.
Okay. And is it the same amount of homes, or is it more or less than what?
It's 5 additional homes,
Okay.
yeah.
How are sales going?
Sales have been going very well. yeah, very well there.
Every week they're in the paper.
Yeah, they've been going very well there. We're actually gonna gap a little bit. They're gonna sell all the lots before we have the phase 3 ones on board for them, but it's a different time in the construction world right now.
How many lots are still unsold?
How many lots are unsold in the first phase?
In the first 2 phases, yeah.
There's 4 that aren't contracted. The sales, they contract them and they close a couple months later, but there's 4 that aren't contracted yet.
This cut and fill, is this all on site?
All on site, sir.
Is there a certain demographic that you're selling to, or is it all across the board, one more than others?
So this,
Nesters?
this is kind of geared towards the move-down buyer, the empty nester, it's that one floor living. It's the lifestyle community, which is Ryan's product that kind of caters to that demographic. I mean, anyone could buy a home there.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a 55 and over community,
Right.
stapled like that, but primarily, yes, it's a move-down buyer or an empty nester.
Okay. From a staff question, Mr. Wielden, any concerns or questions or issues with the cut and fill operation part of it?
No, we've had the geotechnical review the plans, and everything has been found satisfactory.
Okay, very good. Council, any other questions at this point?
Can we look at the map again, and can you just kind of show me where phase 1 and 2 are, and then where 3 is going to be?
Yeah, let me, so this area here was phase 1. This area here was phase 2,
Gotcha.
Okay.
and this area here will be phase 3.
And what do we name, do we have a name for that road yet? Just curious.
I knew you were gonna ask me that. After I said that. We do have a name for it, I don't.
They're all
know
golfers.
that.
Beyond the drive.
Yeah, I was gonna say, beyond the drive, you beat me. I was just waiting to put it.
They're all golfers is what they are.
It's Varden Drive, it's on the next page. Varden Drive.
What was the name of it again?
Varden, V-A-R-D-O-N, Varden Drive.
Because we have Spartan Drive too. We have sounds, we try to make them different. Just
Nope,
really
absolutely,
appreciate it.
I understand.
John, is there anything else you want to present as far as the project? Is there anything else that seems to be pretty straightforward? This is our third time.
Yeah,
you
third
know.
phase, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has
Yeah,
anything.
how about the sidewalks on Logan's Ferry Road?
The sidewalks on Logan's Ferry? Which ones?
Where you dug down 15 feet for the gas line?
So that's
That was
the other one.
Was that the other one?
Yeah, different property
Okay.
owner.
Oh,
All
okay.
right, okay.
Because I believe their
That was
sidewalks are already satisfied.
I'm not, yeah, are they?
I don't know, I would have to look to see
look
if
at
the
that. I think
ones
it's part of
on
theirs.
Logan's Ferry have been installed.
No,
I don't think they are either,
I
yeah.
don't think they are.
Is that to the,
They're not.
So it should be, there's the gap in the middle that
Yeah.
is private property. And we
Correct.
realize that there won't be any sidewalk there. But on the top side, next to the dog park, I was under the impression there would be sidewalks that would connect with the senior homes that are going in there. And then on the bottom side, it's Pugliano's house. I'm not
Yeah, you can't.
real sure what else is down there. I thought there were gonna be some sidewalk down there as well. That was the
road-
impression
to
that I
the
was
road,
under.
access road.
To the access road into the Maple Crest plan, correct?
Well, would these things, Mr. Wielden, would those items already be on the site plan agreement or site plan that we approved?
Yeah, those were on the developer's agreement for phase 1. So they're on the hook for it.
Well said, yeah. So we'll just make sure that.
yeah, if they're not in, we'll make sure they get in.
And they're bonded also.
Yes.
Good point to make,
That's
thank you.
good.
Yeah, so we'll just, I mean, that's something we definitely discussed whenever the first phase came through during the site plan, because that was something that certainly we want to see in all of our new construction and
Yeah, absolutely.
in that area, so. So we'll just make sure as this moves forward, but I don't think that's something we can, that doesn't has to be added for these items, because really we're just talking about the subdivision and the cut and fill operation.
Yeah, the phase 3 doesn't have any frontage on Logan's Ferry, so it wouldn't be part of phase 3, but it was definitely part of the developer's agreement for phase 1.
Okay. Any other questions, council? Any questions or comments from staff? Is there anyone from the audience who would like to add any other testimony or have any other questions? Seeing none, I seek a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion?
Second?
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
It's closed for the public hearing, then we will consider this item at Tuesday's meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right,
John.
thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Council, moving over to those are the two items we'll consider for Tuesday. Moving over to we have one motion to consider for Tuesday. Mr. Little.
Yeah, it's a motion to accept the resignation of Sherry Harris from the Monroeville Municipal Authority Ward 2 seat effective immediately. Any questions or anything from council?
Hearing none, moving over to our resolutions. We have one resolution to consider for Tuesday, the 13th.
Okay, it's a resolution of the Council of the Municipality of Monroeville, Allegheny County to implement Act 57 of 2022 requiring all municipalities, school districts, and counties that levy a real estate tax to direct their tax collector to implement the Act's property tax penalty waiver provision for tax years beginning on or after January 1st, 2023. Basically, all this is if somebody had not received a tax notice, that they won't be penalized, and they have to produce. It says it in letter, Act 57 directs the tax collector to waive additional charges for real estate taxes in certain qualifying situations for the purpose of real property, the date of transfer of ownership, and number 2 is for the manufacturer or mobile homes, date of transfer of ownership of date of lease agreement commences for the original location or relocation of a manufactured or mobile home on a parcel of land not owned by the owner of a manufactured or mobile home. Term does not include the renewal lease of the same location. Reading it, it's just basically if somebody hasn't received a tax notice. Any questions on that? I mean, all the municipalities in the state are going to have to be passing this.
No questions? Nope. Very good. We have 7 ordinances to consider. 5 of them revolve around the budget, the 2023 budget. So, Mr. Ratcher, if you would.
First ordinance is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville fixing the real estate millage for land, buildings, and structures for 2023.
Questions or comments? And just for the record, there is no change in the millage rate proposed for the budget next year.
Second ordinance is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville to provide for the adoption of a budget containing estimates of proposed revenues and expenditures for the calendar year beginning January 1, 2023.
Questions, council? Next item.
Next item is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville continuing the deed transfer tax, mercantile tax, business privilege tax, and local services tax pursuant to the Local Tax Enabling Act of 1965 as amended. Next item is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville adjusting the salary system structure of 2023. And finally, for the budget-related ordinances, an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville establishing the 2023 fee schedule.
So, council, any questions or comments about the budget at this point? Hearing none, I would just make the comment, I think that staff has done a great job, Mr. Little, Ms. Rock, all the department heads, and certainly council have added a lot of input to this, and I think it's a good document, and hopefully we can get this passed next Tuesday. Next item.
Next is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville providing for the vacation of a portion of Orchard Alley, unopened, from its intersection with Elmwood Street eastward to its terminus at the property boundary of the Young Men and Women's Hebrew Association, a distance of approximately 280 feet, containing 0.196 acres, more or less, in area. And the final ordinance is an ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, prohibiting the feeding of wild animals and providing penalties for the violation of such regulations.
So I just maybe lead some discussion on that last item about the wild, feeding wild animals. The genesis of this began, we had actually down near where the Maple Crest development was, we had a coyote attack a pet dog, a family pet, a small dog, which led to a lot of discussion with the animal control officer and the game commission about the presence of coyotes in the community and the spread of them and the increase in them. And one of the things that came about was that feeding wildlife is one of the things that attracts coyotes and other wildlife into our neighborhoods. And the game commission is really against artificial feeding for these reasons, and also for the spread of disease, for the animals themselves. It's harmful for them in general as far as how they naturally have habitat. And so this was something that some communities consider, and I think it's something that we should consider as well to solve in some of our residential neighborhoods. So council, any questions about this at this point?
Nick, who will enforce this?
The way the resolution, or the way the ordinance is written,
It can be enforced by code enforcement or by the police.
There's an animal control officer in there as well.
Yeah, ACO.
it's any representative of the municipality can alert the resident to the ordinance. But as far as actual enforcement of it, it would probably come down to code enforcement, animal control, and the police department kind of working hand in hand.
And the offenses are gonna be first time a warning, and second time maybe a monetary?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I think the public ought to know that if they see a dead animal, especially a deer, call animal control, because that's what draws these coyotes. They're feeding on these dead carcasses, and it just causes them to get big and fat. There's one hanging around the hospital, it's as big as a German Shepherd that my daughter sees over there at the cancer center. And feed wild animals, what's left, draws rats and other rodents to pollute your properties.
Well, that's one thing. Also, the artificial feeding does attract a lot of nuisance animals. And then there's a whole host of, problems with that where, you're getting people's even the things maybe more,
Yeah.
what we'll say inconvenience, people getting into people's garbage and maybe people's, gardens and landscaping is getting destroyed, these things. And it does pose a threat to the health and well-being of our residents. So there was a couple things in here that we were speaking with the animal control officer, and there were some things we were ready to kind of look into. We had some questions, Mr. Ratcher, about maybe if someone had a certain amount of acreage, and
Yeah,
so there's maybe some things that need to be fine-tuned in this ordinance.
right, and we're looking for input, I think, from both Mike Strom and the ACO. Mike, of course, because he was the previous ACO. And you had indicated that to me. I've also gotten some input from Mr. Stevenson. So the ordinance that you see attached here is a little bit of a work in progress. We're hoping to button up all these comments so that you can consider a vote on it next Tuesday. Hopefully, we'll meet that schedule.
Any further comments, council? Very good. Moving on to reports of our municipal staff. Mr. Ratcher.
Nothing.
Thank you. Mr. Little.
Yes, I have 3 items here. First of all, as a heads up, in the spring, PennDOT will be resurfacing, or an outside contractor will be resurfacing Route 22, William Penn Highway, in the spring of '23. Jared, did you get a chance to, I don't know how well that will look on the monitor. It'll be from Rodi Road to Route 48.
No, I didn't get that.
You didn't get it? Okay, all right. All right, but most people know where Rodi Road is, or thereabouts, up to 48, if you remember. Starting 2.5 years ago, PennDOT paved from in Murraysville to 48. Now they're completing that addition right there. And there will also be traffic lights that will be upgraded. But they're going to be letting out contracts, at least they plan to, in January. And construction should start, or repaving should start in the springtime, some weather permitting.
And they don't have a timeline for the project?
It'll be a 2-year project
2
like
years.
the other one, 18 months, somewhere around there. They'll be going into the construction schedule of '24, just like the last one. Garbage and recycling collection will be on schedule over the holidays because Christmas and New Year's is on a Sunday. Our garbage collection will be picked up that Monday. All right, I'm going to repeat, garbage collection will be picked up that Monday. Nothing will be kicked back a day like a lot of times it is on a holiday. Okay, so that is on schedule. Third thing is, we have a new module from the company that has sponsored, not sponsored, but is doing our website, Civic Plus, and the module is called See, Click, Fix. And Jared, if you could put that up on a monitor, and council, you have a little a PowerPoint at your table, and I'm just gonna spend a couple minutes on this. Basically, what this is a 311 on your phone or even on the website that you can download. If you have a complaint, you can download on a mobile app to report issues, and the big missing link right now is the public. And if the public gets involved in this, then what you can do, you go on the website, you can register. If you see a pothole, just to use a simple complaint, if you wanted to, you could take a picture, you could send it in, it goes to the proper staffing, the proper department. You will receive an email back that your complaint has been received, and hopefully within a certain amount of time, 3, 4 days, a week, or whatever the case might be, depending on the weather, if you're using a pothole as an example, you will get a response back. On the website, back up a little bit there, Jared. Right there, because Tina circled that right there. If you want to have a request for a complaint, you can do that clicking on the website, if you're on the website, or even if you're on your phone to report a concern. And then it takes you to the next one. Go ahead, Jared. Sorry, okay, to report a concern. It says you may select the link or go to a browser version or download the app that is appropriate for your device. And it's all explanatory on the website. And then go to the next one, Jared. Thank you. You could sign up to submit a request by the name or simply start a new request. Clicking a new request under the Municipality of Monroeville bypasses the geolocation. A map will come up, and you can pinpoint where the problem is. We were talking about animals before. If there's a dog run, of course, a dog can go in. If there's a deer down, a dead deer on the road, you can pinpoint that, and you can send it in. Now, staff is in the process right now. We have had internal testing for the last month or so, and you're really not going to know how well everybody in staff is going to be able to respond to this until we start getting actual complaints from the public. And we're live right now, and that's what we're looking forward to do. Garbage misses. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, there's a drop-down menu, and we have different items on there that are complaints: abandoned vehicle, animal control, blight, graffiti, illegal dumping, other, parks and playgrounds, pothole. And you can even scroll down on the list when you get on the website, and it has all the different possible categories. We're going to also be tweaking this as different categories come in. I was talking with Tina Mueller, our IT director. She said a complaint might come in with snow removal. So all of these will be sliced and diced. We can keep a record of all the complaints. That's the theory moving along. We can keep a record of all the different complaints and even have pictures of some of them. So if we ever need it for any legal reasons or anything. Okay, and then it says in the next one that you can attach a photo. I already went over that. And you could also put in a comment. If you want to comment. And you can submit with your name, or you can submit anonymously. Okay, so that's the website. Once your concern has been submitted, notification will be received by the municipal employees, and we will begin to address your concern. So if anybody has any questions from council or anything, or if even any of the public has any questions of me, send me an email, call me on the phone. My information's on the website. Because I'd like to see this rolling out. I think it's a good product, because you could be sitting in your car on the parkway and you have a complaint about something and you're stuck in traffic. You can just go on your mobile and mail it in, email it in, and hopefully it'll be taken care of in the time that you think it should be taken care of.
Well, you know what, Tim, while you're sitting here talking about it, I downloaded it from the App Store.
Okay,
iPhone.
good.
So it also has, I'll read it to everybody here, but I'll
Okay.
show you. Because this also included to the Monroeville website, the recycling schedule, okay, our Facebook page, and this was the park online registration. That's different. And animal control requests are the 5 things that are, and then building permits. It goes right to Paul.
It is going, Paul and I met with the 4 ladies. Most of the 4 ladies are going to be taking take in most of the complaints. It is additional work in the beginning, but as things move along, it's gonna, and it'll take years to do this, it'll be less work for the staff because things will be more digitized.
And it'll get trunked right to where it needs to go.
Right, and to give you an example, one of the items we just talked about the other day, and I've talked about this for years, you want to eliminate the middleman. Instead of somebody complains that their garbage was missed, instead of it going to Shelley, it'll go right to the driver. Now, the question is, then that means we have to get phones for the drivers, which they don't have any. It'll go right to the driver or whoever is doing it in a pickup truck, going around and getting the misses every day. So it eliminates the middleman, and hopefully it'll be more efficient that way.
Right, I mean, you know, we talked about this before, that all of our departments, technology is going to be the answer to a lot of our manpower.
And also the headache, too.
The headache, too. Well, but documentation, I mean, that's terrific. I was surprised that the park online registration is here and stuff as well. And I assume, you know, we found a couple of, almost 3 years ago, a fault in our registration online when we were doing a hygiene check to do this, but this is all meets the security standards from the website as well, so it's actually upgraded. But I mean, it took less time to download this than it did to, you know, while you were talking about it, I just happened through. I mean, when you go to it, for anybody else that's doing iStore, there's a number of these that have the name after it for their city. You have to go down, it's like the second or third one down, and it just said,
But there should be a direct link to the App Store through our website, right?
yeah, but I'm just saying, right now, I just went in to see Click Fix, put it into the App Store, and came down, and I got like Tampa, Florida's and stuff like that, or whatever came up. But then you have to go to see Click Fix, and it said utilities was the general one to do it, and then it took me to a screen that allowed me to put in Monroeville. You know, to do it. Once I did that, it took it to the site that I have, to the Monroeville site. I have just, I mean, Joe just did it too, so I mean, like 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
So, I
Sure.
mean, I was doing it, I mean, I was actually doing it live. I did, last week, I put in abandoned vehicle right at this property right here. And to see, and I think Paul Wilton, you got it, right? And, because I was just testing it, Paul got it, and I got an email back.
Oh, and that explained where the police chief's car
Right, exactly. And then I put another one, and I figured graffiti, and I couldn't think of a graffiti, and I put, on the park and rec door, because Danielle was putting stuff on the park and rec door. And, so, I mean, at least from a simplistic standpoint, it seems to be working, but you're really not gonna know until the public really starts using it. And how fast we respond. And what I plan on doing is hopefully, you know, giving council a quarterly report on the different complaints we get. I mean, just an overview. I'm not expecting council to look at all the different complaints and having a pie chart on it, what kind of complaints we're getting, the most complaints, and,
Yeah,
you know, so you're aware.
Well, that's great. Any other questions, council, at this point?
Oh, really cool.
Very good.
I'm not going out today because I
Okay,
didn't get any sleep last night.
a couple other things that, just offer my condolences to the first responder over in Penn Hills. That's the first thing. Second thing is the Shabbat of Monroeville will have a light-up night on December 19th at 5 o'clock at the community park. And also, Merry Christmas to everybody.
Okay.
We got next week for that.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Little. Mr. Hugus, anything this evening?
No, sir.
Ms. Rock?
Nothing.
Thank you. Mr. Biondo, we'll start with you tonight. Any,
Well, are we missing public comments?
not to see, we already took care of
Okay,
that.
all right.
That's for Tuesday.
I have nothing today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Mr. Williams?
Earlier this evening, Mr. Schultz, who is here tonight, called me and mentioned that a resident had moved in the neighborhood and the house is empty and he left a dog in there. He hears a dog barking, and whether he got any satisfaction in that or not, Billy, have you talked to anybody?
Could they leave a dog in there?
Yeah, the house is empty and he seems to think there's a dog in there barking.
My
Billy-
name is William
Billy-
Shopes,
Bill-
live on Madden
okay.
Drive,
Yeah.
Okay, good.
and had a neighbor recently move out Sunday. And as of right now, the house appears empty. But there is an animal in the house, a dog. It's barking at night and howling. So I just thought maybe it could be brought to somebody's attention, mostly
Yeah.
animal control
Oh, Police Department Animal Control,
Yeah, do you
absolutely.
have the address?
Come and leave, 1448.
I'm sorry, 1440, I'm sorry. the road.
Madden.
Madden.
Madden
Drive. Yeah,
Just a concerned citizen, you know,
King
that
Street.
It's on the left side.
somebody could check it out.
Okay, good deal.
No, we
Good
will.
deal.
That's right before
Definitely,
the-
thank you.
Right before the cul-de-sac down there.
Okay, the other thing is, Mr. Ratcher, panhandlers are under freedom of speech if we're on public land, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, as long as they're not on private land, there's nothing we can do to remove them,
Correct.
okay? And no trespassing signs on private property. How many have to be there and how far apart do they need to be?
I think the regulation is, and, this is a typical lawyer thing.
Yeah.
It has to be a reasonable number that are conspicuous and convey the message of no trespassing. So it would depend on how big the property is, obviously.
I know no hunting signs have to
Yeah.
be, so same
I don't
thing.
think there's any such regulation with respect to no trespassing, but it's a similar concept if you think about it.
Okay. Another thing, we all know that PennDOT planning on taking care of Route 22, but when you ride down there, it's really deplorable with chunks of concrete, curbing loose, and loose stones all over the place. And I've been working to trying to get PennDOT to at least go and sweep them up. And I was thinking myself, go down there and park my car and start doing it myself.
Don't do
But,
that, Paul.
I didn't want to get arrested or have a grievance against me. And, but I've been trying to get them to take care of that from the Turnpike to Hall Station Bridge. And it's just a flagship of Monroeville when people come in there, and it looks like a slum through there. So anyhow, if the public wants to email PennDOT, it's cklens@pa.gov. If you want to email PennDOT and tell them your concerns, it'd be much appreciated. And not that they're going to fix it, but at least they could sweep up the loose debris. It's a liability. Car hits one of them things, and it, you don't know where it's going to go. And the other thing is, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to people. And just remember the reason for the season. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Adams.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Mr. Wolfram.
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Poach.
Yeah, I was just going to, Tim, to build on what you said, the chief and I and a lot of our Monroeville folks attended Nick Theophilus's mass and service on Saturday. And it was an unbelievable turnout of public safety across the board, and as far away as the West Coast as well. People came from all over the country. Huge number, over 85 different emergency vehicles in this procession. It was an unbelievable part of it to do that. So feel bad for his family. Our sympathies and prayers go out to them as well. And I knew Nick from, knowing him in the hospital and had seen him, and stuff as well over the years too. So I was very sorry to hear that, and to all of the folks in Penn Hills EMS. But other than that, nothing else. Looking forward to the Gelb drop. We'll come in when we have the light up.
19th.
And the 19th.
19th.
Do that too. See you all there.
Great. Mr. Hizzy.
Just one thing, congratulate senior citizens, what a great party they had today. Some people chickened out, didn't wear their shirt, said, but that's all I have for tonight.
We don't know who you're talking about.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Next Tuesday.
There we go. Maybe next Tuesday, we'll
Tuesday.
see. But yeah, thank you to the senior center and the staff over there and senior council for having us over there for lunch this afternoon. Great event. And they had a great fundraiser with their big Santa stocking stuffer.
Congratulations to him.
They raised some money, which was great. Just want to commend the Historical Society for the holiday tree lighting and the rededication of the bell tower. Big thanks to Public Works and what they did over there to fix the bell tower. And we had a nice holiday lighting event last weekend, and we are looking forward to the menorah lighting this weekend, or Monday, the 19th, in the park. And with that, I want to seek a motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting's adjourned. Thank you and good night.